Happy Wife, Happy Life. We're your hosts. I'm Kendahl Landreth.
And I'm Jordan Myrick.
And we are two incredibly unqualified,
but deeply in love comedians who are here to help you with all things relationships. And today we are talking young love with Sam Reich and Elaine Carroll.
That's me.
And me.
Perfect. Sam, Elaine.
Hey, guys.
What a treat.
Thank
we love
you.
y'all. We're couple
Thank
friends
you
with
for
y'all.
having us.
But
true.
more importantly, you're both famous.
Definitely.
And that's what's so important
have-
to me and what's so important to remember.
Social media followings that can point to this podcast.
Exactly.
That's
Yes,
right.
100%.
That's
So
Listen,
Sam,
I'm in this racket.
you know,
I know all about it.
You get it. Hey, and you could get some new followers from this podcast.
Ooh, fingers crossed.
I don't know how many
Yay.
lesbians follow you, but you might have some more after this episode.
Honestly,
Please.
worth it.
There you go. There you go.
That's kind of the demographic you're waiting to tap in.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Sam, we all know you as the head honcho at Dropout.
That's me. That's what I do for a living.
And Elaine, you're an incredible writer and comedian.
Oh, thanks.
Incredible.
That's right.
Just-
Y'all.
Also, co-writes a lot of Game Changer and makes some noise with me.
I mean, we assume you do almost none of the work.
Yeah.
And it's all Elaine is what it feels like.
Yes.
It's kind of a little Miss Maisel situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
That's exactly right.
Miss Maisel.
That's
that
right.
is what it works. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how it is in the show. Yeah. You're the husband. That is
Yes, or Cyrano de Bergerac.
Yeah. A classier reference.
That's truly so much fun.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fun making Dropout stuff together.
Yeah.
And how long have you guys been together?
Oh, okay. Let's tell the story. Let's
wait.
just jump into it.
Oh, God. Okay, you don't want to do
Well,
the
the
math
quick
first?
answer. The quick answer is we met in 2000.
Oh,
and
easy math.
So it's 24.
24 years.
Easy. Yeah.
We've been in
24
love
years.
for 24 years. How
That's
crazy.
so sweet.
We
I
have-
have been in love with him for 24 years. Hopefully, he's been in love with me for a comparable number
Yes,
of years.
and we have been in love longer than we have not been in love
This is
in
true.
our
This is
lives.
true.
That's
Shocking.
so sweet.
Isn't that
Yeah.
wild?
I don't think I really knew. Like, I knew that you guys have been together a long time, but I don't think I realized this story. So this is very
Yeah.
exciting for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of to make it about myself. I just want to say, yeah, this is a really big day for me.
Yeah.
Normally, when you hear that sentiment, it's coming from boomers.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is true.
Yes. Or a couple that you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they like tell you the story as if it's romantic and you're like, oh no. And they like have 8 kids and they're like, this is just marriage
was
is
groomed.
hard. Yes.
Yeah,
But this,
basically.
you guys are so happy that I would have thought you'd been like, it's our first year together.
Yeah.
Very
Oh,
sweet.
That's so nice.
really sweet.
Newlywed vibes we're getting
Yes,
off.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
So how old were you two when you met?
4.
No way. I really believed it.
Yeah, don't do the math.
Yeah. Whoa, wait.
I was 16.
That's right. And I was 18. It was like my senior year in high school.
Yeah.
And I was going. We met in a summer program at Boston University Theater Institute, Booty, and it was like.
And we got some, am I right?
I love that. I do have to say, the culture around summer theater programs is absolutely unwell. Our roommate did Cherubs,
Cherubs. What's that?
Northwestern.
Okay.
And it's like, and I went to college. I went to NYU for acting.
Yeah.
And when you, like, the first day of acting school, everyone's like, where did you go? What summer programs did you do? I was like, none. I didn't do any of them.
Yes.
Oh my god.
If
But
I-
people had done them.
If I could make a recommendation, if you are a 5'6" boy with an abnormally large head,
Okay.
it serves you really well
Yeah.
to go to a theater camp where you are one of perhaps 3 straight people
This is true.
in order to increase the odds that you'll find someone.
So
That's
you were
nice.
like you were hot stuff there.
It was a hot ticket item.
Because
Yeah.
I went to one, I never really went, I went to like day camps.
Yeah.
But I never went to like because I assume this is overnight.
Yeah.
Same,
overnight.
yeah.
A different world. I went to an overnight camp one time because I got a scholarship.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So I got to go, but I was like way older than I was like turning 18 and everyone
Yeah.
kept thinking I was a counselor.
Yeah.
But this was like my first time at summer camp and I could not believe I was the oldest person there. And I went there and it was like a sex party. People were like,
Yes.
Whoa. Wait.
who's
Why do you
fucked
say
too?
yes? Like
I'm
I'm
like,
sure
the
it was.
first night.
Because theater people are like so
Absolutely.
horny.
But other
Perverts.
camps, I'm like, I know people talk about band camp, but I'm like, maybe band camp and theater camp are similar. But it's like, I arrived the first day. I'd never kissed anyone in my life. I'd never been on
Yeah.
a date. And people were like, have you given him a blowjob yet? And I was like, no, what? We're children.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's a very horny experience.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would agree with that to some extent. I feel like our experience was like people were horny, but it was more just like people were nerdy. Like it was
Yeah.
sort of like the summer where everybody was singing Rent or like that
Yeah.
genre of like that. Yeah, it was.
In fact, our first kiss was Well, this is flashing forward in the story, so we can totally back up. But was me on my knees begging Elaine to kiss me. That's true. And what convinced Elaine was her friend coming in and singing "No Day But Today"
Yeah, that's true.
from Rent.
What a homo story. That's crazy.
It's so funny because this is a story that your gay male friend tells you later. And it's like, well, I was at the theater camp with my best friend Janelle, and I was like, let's kiss, and then her friend sang Rent to us. And you're like, how did she not know?
Yeah, but you're
Look at
straight,
you
and now you've been married for 24 years or together for 24 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so sweet. How did you know? Like, were you like?
How did you know? That's so far ahead.
No, like in the moment, like at camp, were you like, okay, wait a minute?
Yeah, what were the first
to me-
vibes? That's what I want to know. What were the first
didn't.
vibes?
I didn't know. I did not have a crush on him at all. I was like, we were in the same like acting class, and I really liked his performing. I thought he was an interesting person. He stood out to me. He was really mature. And I think I said to you after you performed something that day, I was like, hey, can I give you a hug?
Yes.
And this was sort of my vibe as like
Can't
to
do
be
that.
like
That'd
to
be
be
a-
like, is he straight? Is he gay? I don't really know. It's been like the first week.
And my response was, well, we hugged, and I said, can I touch your chin dimple?
Yeah, he did. He wanted to touch my chin dimple.
and did you
I
like that? How did you
had-
feel about that?
I was a child and no one had ever asked me anything. And so I just said, oh, yeah, of course. Everybody asked to touch my chin
And
dimple.
how long was the touch? I'm imagining
It was-
5 minutes.
It
You
was
just
like
held
a
it there.
thumb in the middle. It was like he cradled my face and then like put his thumb in the crevice of my chin dimple.
What
That's
base
crazy
is
because that'd
that?
be hot now, honestly.
Yeah, what
You
base
had
is
some
that?
moves.
Yeah, that's when
I-
she says mature.
Yeah.
That's
But
kind of the vibes I was giving off.
yeah, you said, and then you complimented me on my chin, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I still didn't like. I wasn't thinking about you as like relationship material. I
Yeah.
remember wanting to get close to you because I wanted to be your friend and I wanted to like do a scene with you.
So
Okay,
we
go ahead.
planned to do a scene together from Macbeth as Macbeth and Lady Macbeth.
Classic.
And we met up on a stage where
Yeah.
like we would rehearse, but it was just the two of us. And this was like after hours when you were to rehearse your scenes. This was the first meaningful conversation we'd ever had together.
And the first time being in private together, the first time
Yeah.
you and I had ever sat down together. And we
And
talked
we
for
just
like
talked.
3 hours. It
Oh.
was like it was as if I knew you before. It was like we just had everything in common.
Yeah.
You were so funny. And I was like, oh, maybe I have a crush on this person.
I think we both, to be sincere for a moment, like recognized maturity in each other that we
Yeah.
didn't recognize in our peers.
Yeah.
We had both been through years of depression
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
had sort of like come out of
Yeah.
that.
And talked about that in our first conversation.
Yeah. And so like a couple of
A couple of
Older
old souls.
souls.
Yeah.
yeah.
And did the scene? Sounds like not a lot of work was going into the
No, we
scene.
didn't-
Was
no.
it bad?
Yeah, how was
we
the
still have
scene?
not put the scene on
We
the
never,
screen.
we never did the
Fact.
scene.
I do have the
Because
script
Lady
with it.
Macbeth, there needs to be a lot of thought put into Lady Macbeth. You don't just throw that up there, which
No.
is what seems like you guys were planning to do.
Yeah. No, right. We really.
you're shaming us.
Disrespected the
Yeah, we
craft,
really
and
disrespect
that's
the craft.
interesting.
Sorry, Shakespeare.
Wait, was there a kiss that night? A hug that
No,
night?
there
a touch?
wasn't.
A
There
dimple,
wasn't.
just a lot of dimple touch.
Another
There
dimple, some
wasn't.
dimple
And-
play?
Sam really had to lay it on thick that he was interested. I was also pretty. I had a boyfriend at the time, and I was like in high school land with my boyfriend. I was in high school love, as much in love as you could possibly be with anybody. I was in with this boy who lived back home in Virginia. And I wasn't looking, and I think I also probably tried to set a boundary with you to be like, hey, I would love to like be your friend.
Yeah.
And you said,
At one point, this was like later on in the story, I was like, I don't want to be your friend.
no, but you said it like
Good
you said
though.
it like
That's good.
I don't want to be your friend. Like you said friend in a way that made me feel like, ha.
And what'd
Yeah.
you do? Were you like, I gotta dump this other guy?
Yeah. I was.
Yeah.
And then Julie came in singing, no day but today.
This was my birthday.
This
So
was his
like
birthday,
middle of
yeah.
summer. I had.
Is this after camp?
No, it was
this
during
is
camp.
During camp, I had like brought a group of people out of the camp for like a night on the town for my birthday.
Okay.
And then planned
Because
that
Sam's
we would
from Boston,
all-
so he knows.
I
Yeah.
like
He's a
my
local.
home was like an hour away from camp,
Right, okay.
and I had planned that we would all spend the night at my home. like this bigger group of people where Elaine was included.
Yeah.
And so we were sort of having a slumber party, but
Yeah.
Elaine and I had an aside.
We didn't sleep at all.
Oh my god! Wow, high school is so much different for some people.
So different. Well, I mean, it was, yeah, it was, and then that was kind of it.
That's so sweet. You guys
Yeah.
got to write a little book about this or something.
Yeah.
A little romance.
Yeah.
That is so sweet.
Wow.
Do you? Well, we'll get into the questions eventually, but I'm
Yeah.
just like, how do you feel like now, 25 years later, having dated? Like, you feel lucky? You said
So
Yeah.
lucky.
That's
yeah,
so wild.
I
Good. That's so
agree.
good, but that's just wild. It's been so long.
I think that's just the primary feeling that's coming up today because it has been a chapter of my life that has come with ease. You know what I mean? And so much does not come with ease in this world. And love has come with ease, and that's so cool. And it's also just so cool to like really like the person you love also. Being attracted to somebody is so much just like a pheromone thing.
Yeah.
You know, like we just felt pheromones for each other like right away. But I didn't know that we would be friends.
Yeah.
yeah,
So how
for
cool
sure.
is it to like now also be your friend?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, speaking of lucky, like I feel that luck I feel has a lot to do with like feeling like I ended up with someone who knew me in childhood. Makes me feel like a kind of intimacy that I think would be really hard to find
Impossible.
otherwise. And I think we're very lucky that like we've changed a huge amount since then.
Both
and-
of us so much and continue to, as we should.
Totally. We also
We don't sing Rent, for instance.
around the
I don't
Not the
believe
house.
that at all.
Show us video proof that you don't sing that.
wow, you're going to need a lot of proof.
Full videos of your life.
But like we also did break up
Yeah.
for like a year or something.
Like
in
a year
there?
and change.
That's what
something
I
like
wanted to
that.
know. Yeah, was there a
Yeah.
period of time where
Yeah,
you
it
were
was
like,
like
we
a-
got to venture
It
out?
was like a college chunk of time where we were both like, let's break our hearts
Yeah.
a little bit out in this world.
And I think a piece of that was like even wanting to end up together, but almost being afraid of emitting those homeschool vibes
Oh, yeah.
of couples
Terrified
who
of that.
have only been with each other
because
ever
also
in their
how
romantic careers.
there is also an opportunity cost to meeting your person early in life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
there's just
yeah.
like an
Yeah.
opportunity cost that you get with the experience of like dating other people, having your heart broken, just like meeting other families, all of that.
Yeah.
And if you just meet your one person so early in life, you just kind of miss out on other things.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
did want to have a few years apart,
Yeah.
sort of.
Were
But I
you
was
two-
also secretly in love with him the whole time. You know,
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Were you two absolutely feral during that year apart?
No.
Or were you still just like, miss you?
We went no contact for a while.
a little bit,
Yeah.
but then we would.
Not for
I don't
very
know.
long.
But then like 6 weeks I'd hear from you, and then I'd like go over to your house and like sleep with you.
Yeah.
There was a long period of time where we did not sleep together. And then I think like at least a year.
Okay, I'm seeing
long is long?
Elaine is very
How
skeptical
long
about
is
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
This
it's
is how we
totally
find out
possible.
there was a
that-
man
There was
dressed as
probably
you.
not, like-
She's like, it was the day after. And you're like,
Do you think?
who was
Do you
that?
think that there was like a year where we didn't sleep together?
Was it not that long?
Absolutely not.
I
A day goes by for
don't
Sam, and
Probably-
he's like, this has been years.
Feels like a decade to me.
I would say maybe 6 months in there where we weren't like
Yeah.
hooking up,
It's interesting how
but not in a relationship. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You can like you separate from your person and then you start seeing other people and you're like, wow, other people are terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah. But I will also say that it was still when in that chunk of time where we were seeing other people, it was pre-apps. So we were
Yeah.
never on dating apps. We never had to do that. And that's
That-
also one of the reasons why I feel so lucky.
Yeah.
Because we just
For
like
sure.
had to
Well, I
not
think-
deal with that.
I think a lot about paradox of choice and how like so much of being in a successful long-term relationship is recommitting yourself to the person you're already with and how if you felt like you had infinite options out there, like how easy it would be to just give up on something way
Yeah.
too early.
Yeah.
And I worry about the youths in that.
Well,
way.
well,
know,
I think it's
yeah.
funny. People think they have infinite options. I'm like, you don't even have a job. What are you talking about? You think you have infinite dating options?
Yeah.
I'm like, relax.
Well, I think
my
it
God,
feels
totally.
though like you have like oh, like you just, I mean, it used to be, I don't know, when my parents were growing up, it's like, well, the people in your town, there's like 7 people you can date.
Exactly.
Versus being like, you know, when you go on the apps, even just the awareness of like how many women there are in the world, how many or men there are in the world, like how many people with different jobs. It's like, I could date a doctor, or I could date a this. Versus like it used to be like, well, I'm a teacher, so I'll probably date another teacher. I'll probably date someone who versus like, well, I could date anyone. I could, and then if I get on Raya, I could date a celebrity. What if I could date anyone? And it is like, I think there is so much of like, and then real like every person's going to give you something else that another person maybe doesn't give you, and then starting to feel like, well, I need to have everything from one person in order to feel that.
For sure,
and
sure.
You know what I mean?
No one person can give you everything.
Right.
Which is why we have more than one person in our lives.
Yeah.
Like it's why like our primary partner shouldn't be our answer to absolutely everything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also like any like ask Reddit thread or like relationship advice thread that I've read on Reddit that's like the responses are always immediately like, oh, you got to end it, my man. Or like, you got to break it off, dude. And almost every time I'm like, wow, that's an impatient response.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and things are so thrown around too, where like these words we've learned in therapy, which is very helpful, but I think it like doesn't allow for people to be like flawed human beings that are like continuing to work on themselves. So you like, there have been times in my life I've probably gaslit someone, I'm sure, or I've been defensive, or I've done these things. But I think people don't realize that it's like, that when you're in that long of a relationship, like you're going to see very different sides of every person.
Yeah.
I haven't even been in that long, but I feel like I've seen 50 different versions of Jordan in only 5 years.
And you know what? You're welcome. I think true. The therapy speak thing is very real on people giving up because it'll be like this thing happened. They're like, he's gaslighting you.
Yeah.
I'm like, relax, calm down. That's a real thing, but also not everyone's gaslighting each other, and that's like, but part of the gaslighting is that it's intentional, right? Like it's not just anyone making a mistake or changing or whatever. So I think there is something when you don't feel like you have other options, you really stay locked in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Or in like, and I guess that can be in a negative way too, but then also I feel like, you can't be, it's not, I don't know. It just takes, like you said, like recommitting to people over and over and over again. What's like the number one advice you'd give for 25 years? Like dating.
Kendall, it's
at
the beginning of the episode.
You know what's so funny? Is
Let's do it.
actually am eager to know. I'm like not like
That's what I end the episode with. I was going to say, and do you have a piece of
know.
advice for Kendall and I?
No, not for us, but just like dating that young. Because like obviously like dating for a long
You
time.
have to wait. We have the question.
I can't wait.
You
I
have
can't.
to wait.
Well, now this gives us time to think about it.
Yeah. Start
Sure.
marinating on it.
Marinate
Kendall has
on it.
absolutely zero patience.
Oh, wow.
But she's so beautiful.
Yes, she is.
So can we dive in with a question?
Yes, and if you are like, why didn't I get an opportunity to ask a question? Well, you did. You weren't paying enough attention.
Yeah, you missed out.
And that's on you. No, but you can follow us on Instagram, and we always ask questions there, or you can email us at hwhlpodquestions@gmail.com.
You can also join our Patreon, where we also post all the questions, and you get ad-free episodes, additional free episodes, giveaways, advance notice on tickets and things like that. So join it. It's not that expensive.
And subscription really is the best way to support your favorite content creator.
Exactly.
That's right.
What other one can they support?
What makes you think that?
Dropout.tv.
This also feels like, I mean, we got to acknowledge that this double date is really just a recreation of a full episode of Gastronauts. Can I say that?
For sure.
Am I allowed to say that?
Yes, not to mention in our private lives, an actual double date.
An actual double date. Yeah. That's less interesting to the fans. As much as
totally.
my plug for my new cooking show coming to drop out on October 11th.
Baby, that's so soon.
It's
I know.
So, it's not soon enough, but it's so soon.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I need it now.
Yes.
Yay.
And I need everybody to love it.
Yeah.
If you're listening, I need you to love
I need it.
Yay.
Okay, great. Now let's get back to the real meat of this episode. This was a question specifically for you, Sam and Elaine, from our Patreon. And they said, Kendall, it also applies to us, so they want to know all of our thoughts.
Okay.
As folks in the public eye, how do you manage being viewed as relationship goals by fans of your work or any parasocial comments about your relationship that come from that? My wife and I are nowhere near as famous as any of you, but sometimes comments about our relationship get to us. It is often, of course, complimentary, but it still brings an immense amount of pressure that makes us hyper aware of how strangers are perceiving our relationship.
And it's from J-Lo.
And it's from
And
J-Lo
Ben
and Ben Affleck.
Wow. Sure. I guess we can.
I mean,
try
yeah, I
that.
agree. They're not as famous as us.
Love
but-
Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. They always send all their things to me. Love. So that makes sense.
I mean, I guess my first response would be to that like, I think we have kind of an unusual public relationship in the sense that people are still finding out we're together.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff that Elaine did early on in her career, like Very Mary Kate and Precious Plum, I was behind the scenes on.
Right.
And people didn't realize that I was involved at all. And then when Elaine came out as a part of the most recent season of Game Changer, everybody was like, wait a second. Which, like, I think has something to do with her being out of my league.
I'm not going to argue it.
Him?
I'm not going to argue it. She's extremely beautiful and talented. You're great, but it's just
agree.
different, you know?
So yeah, we've only sort of like had a little bit of that. I think it's, I mean, I have a lot of like, I'm very proud of the fact that you chose me out of all the men that are out there. And so I like people knowing it, and I feel a little self-esteem boost as a result of
Oh
it.
yeah, are you kidding me? I feel such a self-esteem boost knowing that you're my arm candy. You kidding me? What a snack he is.
But we're also pretty, like, we're pretty private about our relationship in the sense of like, we really don't do a lot of stuff like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're
Yeah.
not really advertising ourselves as a couple. There's very little on-camera time that we shared together. And maybe
we're
a
also
piece of
very
that is
reserved
protective.
on social media as people. I think
Yeah.
like we're on social media, but you can't really learn about us personally on there.
Yeah.
And I think that for so many of the years that we were together, we were like really struggling financially to like come up together,
Yeah.
you know? So I feel like all of the success has been like relatively new, which is probably healthy in that we have like so many years under our belt. We have like a cachet of like long hard years together that we can like pull from like through like any hard stuff that comes up now. So it doesn't really matter what people think about our relationship
Yeah.
because we know what we think about it. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what is interesting is like people come up to us and they're big fans of me, or people come up to us and they're big fans of Elaine.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like less often that someone is like, oh, I love you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
I think that's
Absolutely.
That's true. Yeah.
We get a mix of that as
Yeah,
well too,
yeah.
where it's always kind of like sometimes I feel like we'll kind of take it in a bizarre way because someone will come up and be like, I love you, and we're both standing together and we
Yeah.
don't want to both be like, thank you, because they might not be talking to both of us. So we both kind of go, oh, and then wait for them to say
And?
more, and then
Yeah.
that's how we then
Which
proceed.
one?
We
Yeah,
proceed
yeah,
from
yeah.
there because it does feel deeply embarrassing to be like, thank you, queen,
sure, for
and then they're
sure.
like, who the fuck are you?
Totally,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
There's that-
we do that
yeah.
same thing too. Of like, whenever somebody comes up to us, we have to. I like clock. Are they really talking to you? Are they looking at me at all? And then I'll do the. Let me take a picture. Do you want to take a picture? And then like, I'll take a picture of them, and then they'll be like, you should be in the picture or something.
Yeah. You're
Right.
totally-
That's a weird one. It's like the trying not to say, do you want me in this
Do you want
picture?
this photo?
Because,
do
like-
you like me?
You want a selfie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit of like, they're not going to say no. You know what I mean?
I know. Well, we always
Absolutely.
have it because I am so bad in situations like that. Like I'm so awkward, and Jordan's really good at it. But anytime someone comes to me, Jordan will be like, do you guys want a picture? And I'm always like, I feel bad because I just throw Jordan under the bus. Where I'm like, no, they don't want a picture with me, Jordan. That'd be so weird. They don't want a picture
Okay,
with me,
sorry.
and then they're like, sure. And then I'm like, oh my god, sorry. They like want to take a picture.
Kendall, all they want is the picture.
I don't know. That's what they say. But Jordan's more confident. For some reason, the second someone comes up to me, I'm like, you're doing everything to probably get out of this conversation. Like, anytime I
same.
continue it, I'm like, they're like, why the fuck did I come up to this? She wants to talk for hours, and I'm too insecure about it. So Jordan's much better at that. I think it's hard to like. We always try because we get comments on the podcast a lot of like we talk about our relationship on the podcast, so sometimes people give their opinions, and I always try to be like, we have to really not ever take that opinion and try to like apply it to our lives.
Kendall doesn't read any comments on anything.
Neither do I.
Incredibly.
Good job.
Ever.
I don't either.
Unbelievable.
Unless
It's none of my
I-
business.
Oh, we're so mentally ill. We can't not read the
The
comments.
only ones I read are the ones
Yes.
Jordan shows me every night.
You
They're
read
like,
them too.
I
Yeah.
only read the comments you show me. That's it.
Yeah.
It's none of my business.
Well,
I
I
feel
don't
like.
find it that interesting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because I think I find it like and not to be rude to any commenters, and I try, my manager's always like, you got to be responding. So I just sometimes try to read some nice comments, but I don't really read them, and I have to remind myself because I just don't care, because I am like, all of these are kind of irrelevant. Like, none of these people know who I am or anything about me. So if I need to ignore the bad comments, I also should be ignoring the good comments when I post something ridiculous and someone's like, we gotta get this to be a TV show. And I'm like, that's very nice, but also isn't true. You know what I mean? So I don't want either way for me to get.
Don't take the bad.
Don't take it. Yeah,
but I also
just do what you do out in the world. And so long as it's still like fun and enjoyable, so long as your own comment on it is like, cool, this is great, then keep doing it.
If I so I try to not think about, because I think sometimes it's hard to not take something to heart when someone's like, well, when Kendahl said that to Jordan, that was so rude. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, was that rude? I don't think it was rude. But it's like, you didn't think it was rude, or you would have told me, I'm pretty sure of that. And it's
totally. And I relate to that self-consciousness as far as just creating content is concerned, where it's hard to not feed back into the content with the feedback, but feeding back into the relationship with the feedback is what a self-conscious experience. I feel like that would be.
It feels weird. I've tried to do better of just directing my anger at the commenters and not at feeling like it needs to be a thing to take into our relationship. I get annoyed. First of all, Kendahl and I are relationship goals, so everyone can keep thinking. I'll say that first and foremost.
I agree.
Because our relationship is perfect. It's incredible, and I genuinely mean that. I find that people infantilize Kendahl a lot on social media.
I'm a little baby.
And she's my little baby. She's not all of your little babies. So everyone needs to back off. And sometimes we get this thing where it's like, I think Kendahl has more of a kind of light, fun up energy, and I have a little more of a dry, grounded energy, and I think a lot of people see that as a power imbalance, and I'm like, it's not. We just have two different energies, but also we're both leaning into our things as part of a performance. Our podcast is very genuinely who we are, but it's also a thing we're creating for entertainment for people. So we're leaning in to things, but at home, I would say we're almost exactly the same. And I just want people, people will be like, Jordan's so rude to Kendahl. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Shut up. Like that, you know what I mean? That's how I'm
and that's exactly what she says to me, which is the problem they have.
No, but I feel like there have been things where Kendahl has been like, you're a bitch. And I'm like, you're a bitch. And people are like, I can't believe Jordan said that. And I'm like, she called me a bitch first.
Oh my God.
And they perceive Kendahl as less aggressive than they perceive me. And so I think that's one thing that feels annoying to me. And I wish.
But that can feel annoying to you. But I've always been like, you can't be like, should I be I need to try to be nice, because you're always nice.
And I would never try to be nicer to you. And I think
try to be like, I don't want, let me say this differently so it doesn't come off like I'm being this way. Because I'm like, I didn't feel that way.
Yes.
So the second I feel that way, believe me, I will tell you. But it's really not
interesting. This piece that's about the ways in which people are attracted to each other too. Different energies do attract each other. The moment we sort of discovered this on Gastronauts, that the two of you share so much DNA. And the two of us share so much DNA.
Absolutely.
And you probably at home even feel that a little bit. But I think as years have gone, I'm saying this 24 years into a relationship, some of that stuff, sure, we've worked on in therapy. Couples therapy is incredible.
Beautiful.
And others we've embraced. Where it's this is a little bit more your role in the dynamic and this is my role. It's not masculine, feminine at all.
No.
It's it's way more arbitrary than that, who falls into what category. Elaine is much more social than I am. And has a lot more sort of command over our friendships than I do. And at a certain point we're just this kind of works.
It kind of works. You wouldn't want me to do my logical brain apply to any math that needs to be done in our relationship and our lives. No, not at all.
Any spreadsheet that we have in the relationship is
That's
in
all
my
Sam.
Google Docs.
Absolutely.
Or my Google Sheets.
And I'm sort of more of the scheduling our social lives.
Yeah.
Because that's just sort of where we naturally fall.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, 100%. I think there's also so much kind of how there's so many people now that you can pick to date. There's also so much opinions about how relationships should be on the internet that you're always intaking where you're like, well, I'm probably supposed to go out 4 nights a week with people who aren't my partner, and I'm supposed to have 8 hobbies that aren't related to my partner. And it's okay. You're okay.
To me, it's does anyone have a problem with this?
Right.
Yes. And also, is it creating is it the long tail of this going to create problems.
Right.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But honestly, the long tail creating problems is also stuff that you can just talk about.
Yeah.
Like, if you have good communication.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But for that question, I'm just like, you gotta. I know you always tell me it's easy. You're like, well, it's not as easy as you make it out to be. I'm like, you can't look at the comments.
Well, because I'm doing all the fan interaction, Kendall.
Well, but you can't. But you're also looking at comments outside of that, and it's. I
It
know
is
it's like
true.
it can be because I will have those nights where like I don't look at comments ever, but then one night I'll Google my name, and then for 2 hours I'm like on Reddit, being like,
Yes.
oh my god,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
need
yeah.
to
Yeah.
buy a gun. I don't know
It
what to do.
is.
I'm gonna die.
An incredibly self-conscious experience learning that you can search yourself at any moment and find new things that people have said about you.
Right.
That's been true
Yeah.
only for me for the past year.
Yeah.
I
And
will
I'm
say,
still-
in the last 2 weeks, I've seen multiple comments on different things of people saying, Jordan has come out and said she has autism. I don't, and that's never happened. And that's one thing that is so interesting to me. I'm like, I got a lot of stuff going on. I don't really have any of the symptoms of autism. That's not something that I don't, that's not, I got other, like I said, I got other stuff going on. It's not autism. And I've
Jordan made
certainly
a
never
statement.
said that I
authority with
have,
which
yeah.
to
But people will do
say
the
it.
same thing. They'll be like, Jordan, Myrick, and Lily Do are friends because they were in one episode of this thing
Yeah.
and so was also in this. I'm like, no, all these people that you see in comedy stuff, almost all of us have been friends for 100,000 years from when we were doing comedy before any of us had any money whatsoever. I've known Lily since I was like 18 years old. Same with
Wow.
Reika. Like we worked my first professional job was with the two of them when I was like 20. Like we've all known each other forever, but I will see comments that will be like, well, Jordan and Reika know each other because they both know the general manager of this restaurant that was on Gastronauts or whatever. Like something where I'm
But
just
you
like,
just have, but this way
that's
you
so
can't
interesting.
read it because it's like, imagine if all the time I'm just saying stuff that's a lie. I mean, I'm not trying to lie, but I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
saying
yeah.
stuff. I'll be like, did you know Jennifer Aniston used to be married to Barack
Yeah, Billy
Obama?
Crudup, yeah.
You know,
Okay, yeah.
whoever. And it's like, I'm
It's
just saying,
noise.
because I heard it one time from a 13-year-old on TikTok, and I'm just saying stuff.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it doesn't matter, because and I'm like, and someone will be like, I don't think that's true. I'm like, I don't know. And
Yeah.
so you just have to, but if Jennifer Aniston was reading that, she'd be like, what the hell?
Yes, it's
crazy.
so hard. 99% of the comments are noise. They're just
Right.
noise, and it's like you got to tune it out and like live your life at a certain point.
yeah, I just think the solution is that mean comments should be illegal. I think if you leave a mean comment, you should go to prison.
Yeah.
And I want
Yeah.
all prisons to be gotten rid of, but I do want there to be
Yeah.
one prison left
Yes.
for people who leave
Meatheads.
mean comments. And then
Yeah.
comments can only be about like me looking hot,
Yeah.
me seeming
Gastronauts,
cool,
dropout.com.
Yeah.
dropout.com.
Totally.
That's right.
Like that's what the comments can be, and that's it.
Yeah.
All right, you got another question?
I do. Really
Whoa,
unbelievable.
really
that
pulled
you-
that out of your
Yeah, you
pants.
did.
Whoa!
Wow.
Really wild that neither one of you read the comments. It feels
It's very freeing.
Yeah,
I feel like I
you're
can just
free.
post whatever I want. And I can just, I'm like, ever so often I'll go back to an old video and the comments are like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, wow, at that time, I didn't even know that.
The
I thought this was
self-restraint,
a
though.
winner.
The
Yeah.
self-restraint.
It's unbelievable.
It's really impressive on both your part.
What do you think of turning comments off? Just like a general think about.
I'm trying to get more money.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
This
keep
whole
comments
thing's a
on.
cash
Yeah,
grab
all
for
right, cool.
us.
So
Well,
leave
I'm
the
like,
comments
you
on,
comment
because
whatever
engagement will
you
drive
want.
traffic,
Right.
And so it does engage people. So it's
So
a
I've
play-
never
it's a-
done that.
Yeah.
But do you do that?
No, comments are on because I recognize that that's how you play the game. You know.
Yeah.
I will say that another stand-up told me to do this, and I did it, and it changed my life. On Instagram, where I'm not monetized, I set it where you can only comment on my content if you're following me.
Oh,
And I have stopped getting
yeah.
homophobic comments.
Hell yeah.
I have stopped, and
Hell
it's
yeah,
been
that's the move.
incredible for
That's the
me
move.
because now I'm like, if you want to leave a rude comment, you got to be a fan.
Yeah.
And those are your choices,
Yeah.
or don't comment at all. And it is
Yeah.
truly
I'm gonna
incredible.
do that. I'm gonna do that too.
That's really smart.
It's truly incredible. Okay. This person says, I'm currently, I'm just going to say it. I'm currently in a teenage homoerotic relationship. What are my chances of it working?
Whoa.
Oh wow.
Huh? What is that? Huh?
That almost suggests an emphasis on the erotic, like versus the
emotional?
emotional connection.
To be clear, we don't like each other, but we have insane sex.
And I guess
And
the
we're
answer
14 years old.
Yeah, I guess the
don't
answer
know.
is it's probably not going to work out. You know, if you're only hooking up, how long does that last?
Given no other context, I'm just gonna go with hope and say sure, it could.
Right.
That's so nice. That's so optimistic.
Like,
I mean, I can't even relate to these people. The fact that you know the word homoerotic and you're a teenager makes me feel like I can't even give you advice. You should be giving me advice.
Sure.
Yeah. And it also makes me
no.
think, if you're a teenager, are we using this word correctly? Homoerotic?
Right.
Are we what are you guys doing?
Do they mean homosexual maybe
Yeah,
instead of
maybe.
homoerotic?
Yeah, maybe.
Or
Interesting.
there's things like, I don't know, I would be like, I almost hooked up with this guy when I was 14, and then looking back, we just like kind of almost held hands. Like things just meant they weighed so much more in my head than they were in real
so
life.
much when you're 14. Yeah.
Because I was like, if he just moved his hand 3 more feet, it would be on my vagina.
Yeah.
So that is kind of like sex.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if we're any indication, you could be in a teenage homoerotic relationship and it can work out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. No day but today.
That's beautiful.
But it's like, you need to make sure that you're emotionally maturing together. You probably do need to form an emotional relationship if there isn't already one there.
Yeah.
And then also, like, here's a little bit of like twisting this question into a piece of advice that I feel like we could give, which is, I think a huge amount of the reason that our relationship has lasted as long as it has is flexibility.
Woo, yeah.
Like, I'm like willing to learn who this person is now and how that's different from the person I was in love a year ago and re-fall in love with that different person. Yeah. And so, it takes like a certain amount of flexibility, adaptability, open-mindedness, I think, to stay in a long-term relationship.
Do you feel like there was a transition? Because I think of myself at 18 and the relationship I was in and how just a nightmare. I mean, true nightmare, which was on both. Maybe you guys were just already healthier than I was at 18.
No.
But was there... I think of that relationship and the thought of still being in it. I'm like, and we weren't even bad people. It's just like the way I dated was a nightmare. Like I was so dramatic.
Oh my God! I feel like we've been in 7 different, just an arbitrary number, different relationships with the same person.
Yes,
that's what I was wondering. Like, do you feel like there was a transition out of like we're not dating like we're high schoolers anymore? Now we're moving into this adulthood. How did you
100%.
Did you have to really like purposefully facilitate that, or did it just naturally kind of happen?
A little bit of calm me probably. Well, because like I think that like a life's journey of improving yourself is trying to like negotiate your own toxicity and figure out what that is and rid yourself of it. And I think like, me at 16, Elaine at 18.
Oh boy.
Super toxic people.
Yes.
Like, like with all those teenage neuroses. Right. And then so like a little bit organically breaking up, getting back together, I think humbled us both. Yeah. Therapy, both individual therapy, couples therapy, like learning a little bit more what we want out of life.
Yeah.
Because you guys seem so like, obviously I'm like, oh, Sam and Elaine, but I also am like, you guys seem so individual. Like you have your own things you like. Like you don't seem like a couple that like can't not be. But when I think of like a 19-year-old couple, I'm like, they can't exist.
We couldn't not be. When we were teenagers, we could not. I feel like I was so enmeshed with you as like a teenager. I was very, very into you. I was also way hornier than I am now. Like a level of horny. And it's also interesting because Sam is the hottest he's ever been now.
Wow.
And you were like, I don't know, like skinny and you had a big head and a lot of acne, but I was like really into you then too. Yeah. So like,
I mean, we are both in our 40s now.
Yeah.
These two are both 19 years old.
Yeah.
Jordan?
I feel like I'm getting a lot of mileage because now that I'm dating Kendahl and Kendahl is younger, I think people also think I'm Kendall's age as well. And so I feel like it's aging me down, which is nice.
Yeah. We're getting aged down by hanging out with you right now. I love that.
You're technically in your 30s right now during this podcast. No, getting older has been good. I have liked getting older because I feel like we're all toxic when we're younger. Like, how can you not be? You're so stupid and you're so horny.
So stupid and horny.
You can only do so much.
Oh my God.
Ever so often, I'll have this anxiety hit me of like how I was when I was 18 and I went through a breakup, which was just like, it was just, I mean, someone should have had a camera. It was amazing. I'm like, doing the calling 80 times, being like, please sing up. Like, just stuff that I'm like now would be like, oh, that's really unacceptable.
Oh,
and so I think about it and I'm like, should I call my first girlfriend and be like, I'm so sorry? But she was also being like insane. We were just so insane. Yeah. So I think to like but it's nice to know that you can stay with that person. I
Yeah.
gotta call her. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You can stay with that person and move out of that. You still can grow with each other if you try to do so.
If you try to, yeah, and we have.
Yeah. I think if you're willing to do the work, like I think that's why I respond to these Reddit posts the way I do, because there's so much like I messed up drawing on this page, crumple, garbage.
yeah.
But it's like, or like erasers.
Yeah.
Turn it into something
You ever seen a
beautiful.
good cover-up tattoo?
Yeah.
Totally.
That's kind of
Have
cool.
you ever gotten a really good I'm sorry? Like, hey, when I said that to you the other day, I'm so sorry. That goes a mile.
Absolutely.
When somebody is sincere and apologizes, you're like, oh, okay, cool. You won me back. That's cool.
I guess it comes down to like, do you have faith that you're working with like great raw material?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's good to know.
And that's a
And,
good
like-
indicator. Like a person who can apologize, a person who is generally decent.
Yeah.
That's somebody. Don't throw away that sheet of paper.
Yeah.
Because also, I have people in my life where it's like, well, you get to the 2-year mark and it's like, okay, let's try someone else. And I'm like, every single person at the 2-year mark, you're going to start to be annoyed with.
Oh my God, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. Like there are stretches of boredom.
Right.
In the 24
Yeah.
years that we've been in love, there are some long stretches of boredom, and then you just stick with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And trust that things will change, and don't quit before it changes back, and you just get through.
Yeah. And
Stretches
then your
of life
partner
suck
makes you move
sometimes.
to New York, or they make you move to LA. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
Now, I want to know: is there a specific time that you could highlight where you were like, I was really bored in this specific time?
It's every 5 years. I'm the
Elaine's the one
instigator.
with the itchy
I'm
feet.
I am the instigator of all this kind of stuff in our
Oh,
in
no,
our
it's
relationship.
year
It's
4,
me.
24.
Yeah, and
Next
it's-
year.
Oh, we're
it's already
talking about
started.
it. It's on.
It's already started.
It's on. Yeah, like every 5 years, I'm like, I have to move to a new city, or I need a new part of town. We have to move to Brooklyn. We have to get a dog now. Yeah, like we're just like, I feel like you're the one who's like, nope, I want to make the same meal every day of my life.
Totally.
I don't want anything to change.
Hardcore creature of habit.
That's
Yes,
how I am, too.
hardcore.
I'm the
And
same way.
I feel like I'm very like
Yeah.
the pioneer.
Yeah. 100%.
If someone told me today, you can do the same thing for the rest of your life
Yeah.
and eat the same 3 meals every day, I genuinely think I would be so happy. Like, I would be like, thank God. They're like, you can never leave your house.
Yeah.
You can't do any, you have to talk to the same person every day,
Totally.
eat the same breakfast. I'd be like, thank
The
you.
like a few months ago, I bought 12 band tees.
Yeah.
And now they're all I wear.
Yeah. Jordan always says this weird. I'll try on a pair of jeans. I'm like, should I get 8 of them? And
Yeah.
Jordan's
I'm
like,
like,
what are you, a
relax.
cartoon character?
Cool. I mean, Kendall's big thing is whatever free promotional tote bag she got most recently out of
That's
an
my
event.
purse.
That's her purse.
That's the one.
That's her purse.
I'm a
She
great
treats
person to
it-
send tote bags to because I'll promote your brand. I'll be wearing something that says Tushy Bidets all over town.
Yeah, and
Incredible.
she
We
treats
gotta
it
get
like
you
a
a drop out tote
designer.
bag.
Yeah,
Truly,
it
she
will be
will
my
wear it
purse.
everywhere.
I'm the
She treats it
same
like a
that
designer
way.
bag. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I'll like leave it somewhere. I'll like leave it at a friend's house or something and be like, oh, but I got a new one. This is my new favorite bag.
I know. I think people think I'm really chill because I will just find some. Like, I have left my full, like, a really nice jacket at someone's house. And like, do you want to give it back? And I'm like, just keep it. I have another one.
I'm living without it now.
Yeah.
I don't have it.
I
I
didn't
don't
know
need
I
it.
was missing it.
All right. How do I navigate coming out to my husband, who is also my high school sweetheart?
What?
Now the question is, I've got to assume that they mean coming out as bisexual
Bi.
Got to,
and not
yeah.
coming out as a lesbian.
Okay.
Two very
That would
different
be
conversations.
Very different conversation.
So let's move
coming
forward.
out as non-binary,
I guess that's true. Yeah. So let's
or
assume,
coming out as Republican.
yeah, all different combos. Let's assume that it's something like non-binary, bisexual, pansexual, transgender,
Sure.
something that wouldn't inherently end a relationship, like if you were in a cisgender relationship and all of a sudden you were like, I'm a lesbian.
Yeah.
which
Doesn't
is
always
like,
end it either.
You know, yeah, it doesn't always end it. Lots of things can happen, but that's a little bit more of a game changer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
So does
I
Reich.
didn't even mean to say that.
Cool, and we'll
Drop
put the
that
we'll put the
.com.
logo up right
Yeah.
now.
He's been here the whole
Free
time.
promo.
We'll do every time we curse. It's like on American Idol.
Yeah, it says game changer across
Yeah.
It's a game changer. I've been queer the whole
Yeah.
time.
Wow, honestly, that'd be huge. The ratings would be huge. Yes, let's assume they're trying to come out as non-binary, queer, pansexual, bisexual, something along those lines, where they can still stay in this relationship.
I mean, is it any more complicated than just tell the truth? Like, just tell the truth, say it kindly.
It is, I think, complicated insofar as like, again, I've seen on Reddit people have complicated reactions to this. But I think it comes back to that sort of open-mindedness.
Yeah,
right?
and hopefully in this marriage you have a good relationship with each other and can say your truth safely.
I guess like there's also a difference between like coming out with something like this and saying I need to act upon it or I need to explore it. Like those are two different things.
We
to
need more
negotiate.
context. Can we get her on the phone?
That's what we always say. We're like, we need 8 more paragraphs.
Yeah.
I have no idea. What
And
to
sometimes
tell
someone
you.
will send us an email that's like 5,000 words, and we'll be like, "Thank you. This is what we need."
I want more. I'm an over communicator. I want every detail.
Yeah.
I will say, I feel like if you learn about yourself in so many different ways. I also always think it's interesting because it's like, if I came out as bisexual to you, it would be like, I don't know how to say it, but it's like I could have always cheated on you. Why would I do
that now?
Right. I guess to me, I'd be like, well, why? Right. It's not like I'm like, well, I was never going to cheat on you with a woman, but with men, I will cheat on you. I guess unless someone's like, well, I got to experience it. But it's like, I feel like that can even be a conversation. But I don't know. Yeah. It always just feels like too similar to me where I'm like, if they're going to cheat on you, they're going to cheat on you.
I feel like it's very similar to what Elaine said earlier of like opportunity costs, because I hear that a lot. I feel like a lot of times I'll like go to a party and then a random woman I've never met before is like, I'm bisexual, but I came out later in life and I was already married, so I've never been with a woman. And I'm like, okay.
You are suddenly the priest of gay.
Me that.
And they're in confessional with
that's
you.
a t-shirt. Priest of gay.
Priest of gay. Okay, that's merch. But I'm like, that's like dating. That's like being in a monogamous relationship, right? Like there's opportunity costs. There's like 100 other women and non-binary people that I will never date because I'm married to Kendahl. It actually doesn't have anything to do with being queer or not. And I think that if you feel like you missed out on something that you want to partake in, you can either end your relationship or open your relationship. So those are options that are available to you if it's that important to you. But at the same time, I think people get hung up on that idea of having missed out.
They want to experience everything. It's like you see on social media these different couples and you're like, well, my relationship's not like that. What if I was in a relationship that was like that? And it's like, well, your relationship is this and I'm never going to experience that because my wife is not like that. So that is just, they're all different and you can't date every person.
You can't have every experience.
Right. Yeah.
I'm under the impression that part of the reason this gets tense too is because it's like people searching for their identity or a piece of their identity. But of course, searching for it involves so intimately the other person in their relationship or affects that person so much.
I'm curious to know though, if I came out as like non-binary in some way, would it surprise you? How would you like, what would you?
I'd give you a high five.
No, non-binary, absolutely not. And Elaine and I both identify as like a little queer.
Yeah.
So like, I guess if we're being honest, I'm of the school that I actually think that everybody is a little gay.
Sure.
I'm actually really impressed by like really straight people.
It's really interesting to see. It's really interesting to see.
When women are like, I do anything, but I just love my husband so much. And then you pan over to the husband and it's just like a baker named
like
Paul.
And you're like, man you've ever seen in your life.
Paul's dick just is it. That's it for you forever. Great.
We've been talking about people who, there are so many people. So I'm attracted to women, but I also like women.
Yeah.
And someone brought this up recently and I wish I could remember who it was. And if it's you, I'm so sorry. And thank you for listening to the podcast. They were talking about how there are so many straight couples that are heterosexual.
Yeah.
Yes.
But don't like the opposite gender. Like they don't enjoy the opposite gender. And I think there's a lot of stuff that can go into that of like, gender roles and what kind of communities and cultures you're a part of like maybe, men mean X to you and women mean Y to you and whatever. But I think you see that so much of people just being like, I do not want to spend time around my husband when we're not like explicitly doing husband and wife stuff because he wants to golf and watch football. And I want to like paint pottery and hike
with my friends who I can actually like speak to, and he's like, I want to be with my guy so I can actually joke around. Like it's just so.
Oh my God,
it's so interesting.
Not our relationship.
No,
it's very different.
We have never done a sport. We've never been to a baseball game in the 24 years we've been together.
Wow.
We've been to a lot of theater. We have a lot of the same interests.
Right.
What you're describing sounds like so like dysfunctional, but like almost like a prioritization of like the sexual yin yang over anything else.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like you want to be like, it's not that hard, because I think some people are like, well, I'd give anything to be gay, which I'm just like,
Just
calm
do
down.
it then.
But then I'm like, do it. It's not that hard. I don't know. You know what I mean?
100%.
And every so often, I'll see a man walk. Channing Tatum is who I'm speaking of.
Yeah.
The love of my life.
For sure.
Sorry.
I know.
There's some men every so often I go, yeah, if I was single, maybe I would ask him on a date.
Elaine and I are watching Interview with the Vampire right now.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like,
God.
man, this Lestat character is
Oh,
so
my
Everybody's in
fucking
love.
hot.
Every
No.
lesbian I know
Totally.
is obsessed with him.
And then we look up this. Elaine's like, do you remember? And we look up Elaine in the male Snapchat filter.
I look like Lestat.
And it looks exactly.
Wow.
I'm gonna
Pull it up.
That
You're gonna have a
is
lot of
so
fans after
funny.
this.
Oh, you have your phone. Yeah, no, I'm also like, I think Lestat from Interview with a Vampire might need to be my like get out of jail free card.
I mean, I'm telling you, a lot of lesbians I know are like, I'm obsessed with this man in every way, and I don't understand it, and I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
and I want to be him, but also I want to be with him, and there's just something about him. But I also think like if you're in the queer community, like queerness also can be inherently very attractive and appealing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I find myself in general so much more, if I was attracted to a man, so much more attracted to gay men than straight men. A lot.
Yes, yes.
Which I think
Yeah.
is bizarre.
I think especially if you start dating young, it's like there has to be room for exploration and growth within a relationship.
Yeah.
So if you're like, oh, well, I feel like I can't share any part of my sexuality, I think that's going to seep into other things too, where you feel
my
like you
God.
can't like
Same.
explore. I don't know, religion is a bad example.
Yeah,
but,
no, I know
you know,
you mean.
anything.
I know what you mean. If you're so closed off about if you're like a barrel of shame about sex things, then
Yes.
like maybe you're a barrel of shame about other aspects of your life.
Yes.
Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like we, I don't know, have a bathroom door open policy. in our
Yeah.
house,
Sure,
kind of.
same.
sure.
Yeah, like,
Well, I actually think a terrific example, as long as it's cool to
Yeah.
talk about this, is like Elaine started getting like really aggressively into meditation come
Oh,
pandemic.
yeah,
And it was like a big commitment that she was
Yeah.
now making like every day. And
I don't know about aggressive. That's a
You're just silent all day.
I mean it in the, I should say like impressively.
okay.
You were going in. You weren't
Yeah.
just like
You were
doing a
all in.
little.
I was just committing hard to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way that was like so cool to watch. It's still so cool to watch. Like I'm in such admiration of it.
I love picturing you meditating and Sam just sitting on the couch watching you. Like, I love this.
That
Look
chick.
how
Yeah.
good she has.
Wait, I need-
She won't feel it.
I
She's
need Sam to
meditating.
get to the butt though. What's the butt of this story?
Yeah, what's the butt?
There's no, well, I guess the butt is like, you know, it requires open-mindedness to be there for all of your partner's evolutions, no matter
Oh
what they
God!
are,
And speaking of
you
a
know?
boring one, and Elaine's through a boring chapter. Oh, she's
I
on her
think
pillow
it's-
again.
I think it's very cool.
That's so nice.
But that's amazing. Versus
Yeah.
being like I feel like I could be like, I want to think about moving to the moon anywhere.
Yeah.
Just
Sure.
like I want to go back to school to be a scientist.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd be like, that's awesome. I don't think there's like, oh, this is my life. Like I always, when we think about our future, I'm like, I don't know where we'll be in 20 years. I have no picture of where we'll be. I assume we'll be together, hopefully,
Yeah.
but I don't think we'll be like.
They say that you can tell if a couple is going to stay together with whether they're micro responses to their partner, like little tiny responses on a moment-to-moment basis, are mostly yes or mostly no.
Oh.
Interesting.
You're
So-
saying yes to me more.
It's like,
No.
it's basically like, are you yes-anding your partner?
Right.
Or are
Yeah.
you shutting down or
Yeah.
or
Right.
blocking
That's
out your partner?
interesting.
I
Yeah.
feel-
Yeah.
yeah. You feel like we do that, I feel like.
I think we really do. We don't even let each other finish sentences because we're so ready to be like,
Yeah.
And let me say that like really like it's the way we talk at home is absolutely unwell. Okay, we touched on this a little bit, but people would like to touch on this more because there are so many questions about it. How do you get past the feeling that you missed out on exploring the dating scene? Do you have any tips for people who maybe did miss out on exploring the dating scene and how to infuse that into their committed relationship?
Do you want to take this one, Sam, or should I have a? What do you
Well,
think?
the first thing I was going to say is talk to a single person
Yeah.
about how happy they in fact are.
And the answer is
That
not at all.
Such good advice.
Like everyone that I know feels like dating is a nightmare.
If the question is like, how do you get over the feeling of having missed out? I would say drink a diluted Diet Coke. You know what I mean? Like
Like one that's been sitting in the car cup
like,
holder.
I love
That might
that.
be like the analogy that I want to think of. Like like if you have a diluted glass of wine, like a glass of wine that's been watered down, it's not nearly as good as like just the one bottle you open.
Wow.
That's beautiful. I love thinking.
I tried it.
No, it's good because I do think there's this like, and even when you're in a long relationship, you're like, well, what, God, I haven't been out partying. Something I like don't like doing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, wouldn't it be cool if I went out to a party and then just like saw this is a thing that's never happened to me, saw a woman and we like hooked. It's like, do I really want that? I think these things get in your head where you're like, and then you're like, do I even want that? Would I even like that? And the answer is usually no, but it's a thing you're like conditioned to think you want or you're missing out on when it's like in the actual, like when I was single, I never did that. When I was single, I didn't like it the whole time. I just wanted to be in a committed relationship because it gave me so much anxiety not being in one, or being in a not being in a relationship, but being in a one that's like, what is this? I didn't like that. And so I think there's these things where you have to ask yourself, like, do you even want? Is that a thing you want to be doing?
I think about that as it relates to bars specifically.
Yeah.
I don't like going to bars.
Right.
Bars are not fun for me. I like to drink, but not like I don't want to.
But at home with a handle.
Home, with a handle. I'm like a goddamn adult. But I don't like a loud, crowded bar where I'm like the shortest person trying to get the attention of somebody behind the bar. Like I don't want that to be my.
Totally.
But you think like do you ever see a video online of like a group of girls in Vegas and they're all like wearing matching stuff and they like are blackout drunk and you're like,
that does not look fun.
should I have I don't have a friend group like that. A bunch of girls in matching outfits in Vegas that are crazy.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, why do you feel this? I felt this sense of like jealousy when I'm like, I could have that, I guess, if I wanted. I don't want that.
Yes. I watched this movie last year called Of an Age, which is an Australian coming-of-age gay movie about a boy who just graduated high school and his friend's older brother who like just came back for the summer from like grad school or whatever. And they have like a torrid affair and it's so emotionally charged. And I watched it.
Jordan's not allowed to watch it anymore because they
made me
cried for 2 weeks after.
It made me feel insane. And I was like, I have to, like, I'll never be young again. And I love aging. Like, I love aging. I can't wait to get older. I've never, ever felt that, like, I'm not going to be young anymore.
Yes.
And that was, like, the first time I was like, I need to be young again now. Oh God, I hope reincarnation exists so I can be reincarnated again as another person and be young. Like, I was like, I'll never feel young love. I'll never. And what's crazy to me about it is that I was in an extremely tumultuous young love relationship.
Yeah.
And I had so many kind of, like, torrid experiences, both gay and not gay, when I was younger, and they were miserable.
Yes.
I wanted to just be dead all the time is what it felt like. Like I was like, oh my God, I can't handle this high of emotion 24/7. But for some reason, seeing it played back to me in that movie, I was like,
romanticized.
And I was like, I'm gonna be sick.
Yes.
I need it so bad to be young and to be whatever.
Totally.
But then it's like, once again, if I had to go back to being 16,
yes.
No, even just the idea of having to, like, you take out all the stuff that's bad, right? Like having to listen to your parents or having to go to school every day, not being able to drive, like what, like your brain just removes all those things that like I have now as an adult.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's awful.
I think like the best advice, I think the advice that changed my life, which was like right before I started dating Jordan, which I was just in like all these like not bad relationships, but I was just so stressed in relationships and so anxious all the time. And they were like, anxiety, like you think all these things are sparks, but they're not sparks, they're anxiety. Like you have anxiety. So when you meet this person,
People
you
are
feel
making you nervous.
and I'm like, I'm in love with you. And then I go on these dates and I tell my friends, I was like, I don't get it. They're so funny. They're so smart. And they seemed like they really liked me and they're so beautiful and we had such a fun time, but I just like don't feel that spark and I wouldn't go on a second date with them. And then I think when I heard that, I was like, oh, that is what that is.
Yeah.
And I think I was able to like be in a relationship with someone who also wanted to be in a relationship with me. But I think it's the same with other stuff just in life where you're like, you are, just because you're stressed out and anxious doesnst mean you're having a good time.
Yeah, sometimes you're just chasing chaos.
Like I just read this book. I just read this book where this girl, of course, is given a farm. It's not a 5-star.
Is this the book that you were worried about being hit by a car?
Yes, The Ride of Her Life. How did you know?
I watched your TikTok.
Oh my God.
The Ride of Her Life. One of my favorite reads of the year. Objectively, I don't think it's well written, but I don't care. It was so fun because it was so dramatic. But I remember reading it being like, what a good relationship when we really break it down, it's like she got this farm and she wanted to sell it to developers.
Yeah.
But if she sold it to developers, all the elderly horse were going to be put down. A thing which Jordan tells me isn't how that would work. But who cares?
That's crazy. They buy a farm and they
They'll
just
just
kill
like
all the
put them
horses.
in the gas chamber.
Yeah, no.
These horses don't have legs. They can't move on their own.
Right. And the other girl was like, those were her horses, but she didn't have enough money to care. She was just the farrier. So it was like if they sold it to developers, all her horses were going to be killed, and they just kept having sex, not with the horses, with each other. And it was just like, but then I was like, what a good relationship. And then you look back and you're like, this is a horrible relationship.
Yeah.
But it feels like sparks and all of that because it's stressful.
I feel like there's opportunity cost to everything. And like if you look at it as, well, I need to do this or this or this in order so that my life is dynamic or I live a fulfilled experience on this planet before I die, that's a recipe for neuroticism because you literally cannot have it all.
Yeah.
Like everything you do is a vote against something else.
Yes.
And so to like be with the same person, and I'm not saying be with one person for your whole life long, certainly be with enough people to find someone that you think has the goods and the raw material and that you're attracted to and spiritually aligned with and all the rest of that. But it's like the opportunity cost of being with like a different person every 2 years is intimacy.
Yeah.
Like you're missing out on what being in a long relationship feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the point where someone feels like family as well as your, love or the rest of it.
Because it really is like, that's everything. Even like, I think it's like, I'm grateful that I pushed so hard in my career at a young age. But then sometimes I watch a movie where everyone's on those like college campus. I didn't go to college. It's like, they're on these college campuses where they're all sitting on the grass. And I'm like, God, I wish I got to do that, but I can't anymore. But I'm also, I don't actually, if I could go back, I don't think I'd change it. But it just is like, you don't get to do it all.
Yeah. And you kind of could. Like, you could go back to school whenever you want and
true.
be a little older than the people there. And you probably won't because you don't really want to.
Right. I don't want to.
100%.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
100%. Okay. We're nearing the end of the episode.
Oh, my goodness
And now we
gracious.
can finally ask Kendahl's question. If you had one piece of advice to anyone, specifically me and Kendahl, what would you say to people looking to have a long-term relationship that lasts and is happy?
Oh my God. Be funny. Be with somebody funny.
Got it.
Done.
I think people who can like make each other laugh. That's just, you make me laugh every single day.
Oh.
Woo! Did I just get my feelings?
Oh.
Oh my God, this one makes me laugh a lot, all the time. And that's just like very, very useful because I think it just helps clear the day away, clears the stress away.
Yeah.
You can just like not take anything so seriously.
Yeah.
Least of all yourself.
Whoa. Love that. Also, like, find someone really decent.
Ooh.
Like, find someone who you are with 99% confidence sure is a, generally speaking, like a good person.
Yeah.
Because if you have faith in that,
Yeah.
faith in their goodness, I think that you can survive like almost like all the curveballs.
Yeah. And there's gonna be curveballs. There's
That-
gonna be.
Yeah.
It's hard out there. It's ups and downs, high highs, low lows. Stick it out if you find that good person, because then trust forms over the years, and it's so nice to live with trust.
And like, don't,
So
this is
rad.
tough too. Like, don't, I see a lot of friends doing this, like confuse attraction for thinking someone's a good person.
Yeah, because lust is not an indicator of whether or not they're a good person. If you want to fuck them, that means you're alive and you're horny, but that doesn't necessarily
And I say that
mean...
despite being married to the hottest person on planet Earth.
Chin dimple.
So sweet.
We got it. It feels like we're going to last forever.
Oh, I know.
You're a great person and
Thank
you're so
you.
funny.
Thanks, same. I'm so bad. This is why we can't have a wedding. I'm like so bad at
Kendall's bad at receiving a compliment.
No, and I'm not
In public.
In
In public.
private, I find. But we went out to a dinner a couple months ago with friends, and they were like, how did you know, to Jordan, like, how did you know that you wanted to be with Kendahl?
Yeah.
And they gave just the most beautiful speech, and I literally was like, I have to go to the bathroom. And I left.
I wouldn't even
And
call
my
it a
face
speech.
was like,
I was just like,
I'm
well, I mean,
same.
you've met her. She's the funniest, most beautiful person in the world with the kindest heart, and she's so hardworking and great.
and I looked like a toddler.
And
I had my
Kendahl was
face-
like, I have to go to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah, I'm you.
I was like, all right.
It makes me so like I'm like
So Love
she's
Island.
nervous now.
Whatever.
I just thought of doing it.
Whenever, like, if you're on Love Island and they're selecting you, which they do like every 2 days on Love Island, you're basically just like,
Making
get me off the show.
Yeah, that's the one thing keeping Kendahl from Love Island.
I just know I'm like if we had a wedding and we did vows, people would be like, "Oh, Kendall's like really mean." Jordan would be saying stuff, and I'd be looking at the audience, being like, "What? Like, why are they doing this? It's so weird." I get so weird. Okay, anyways, you guys are so sweet, and I love you.
And I love you. And we love both of you. Thank you so much for coming on the pod.
We love you. And we love you. And I love you.
And I love everyone.
It's so
Thank you so
perfect.
much for being
All
here.
right. Well, we'll include all of your handles down at the bottom so people can
great.
give y'all a
Great.
follow. Is there anything
Incredible.
else you want to plug?
Gastronauts, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hosted by the how do you say this word? When you say someone can't be imitated, imitable.
Inimitable.
Something like that.
Unimitable.
Just say
Jordan
sexy.
Myrick.
Sexy.
The sex god, Jordan Myrick. We're on an episode together, and it's very funny.
Yeah.
And new season of Game Changer is shooting right now, and will be
That's
out next
right.
year.
Very exciting. Very, very exciting.
What about you? Do you have anything going on that you're like, you got to check it out?
No, that's
Socials?
it. I'm on there. You'll find it right here and here or something.
Put it on there. We'll slap it on there.
Link them.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being here. We just adore you too
I
so
love you.
much.
Thanks for having us.
It's great. And as always, we have new episodes every single Monday morning. So make sure you stick around. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Patreon, YouTube, the whole shebang. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.